Hello, and welcome to She Rises, the podcast where women in leadership take center stage. I'm Tiffany-O, your host and the founder of Virtual Partner, where we champion humanity in the workplace to build thriving organizations. With over 30 years of experience in change management and servant leadership, I'm here to bring you powerful stories, actionable insights, and inspiring conversations with trailblazing women who are breaking barriers and redefining success. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, leading your own venture, or looking for that next level of impact, this is your space to learn, to grow, and to rise. Let's dive in. Today, I'm uber excited and honored to have Aytakin Aliyeva join us on the She Rises podcast. Now, Aytakin is the visionary founder of Femigrant, an inspiring community dedicated to empowering immigrant women to achieve their professional dreams. Her work has been pivotal in creating platforms that amplify the voices of women who are often underrepresented. With a focus on mentorship and community building, Aytakin's mission is to unlock the potential within every immigrant woman to achieve her greatness. Let's dive into her journey and discover the transformative insights she has to share. Welcome, Aytakin.
Hi, Tiffany. That was the best introduction. I need to learn it from you. I
Happy
love
to have
how
you.
you introduced me.
Did I leave anything out?
That was great. So I loved it. Do I have anything to add now? So you said the most important thing about me.
Well, before we get started, I need to celebrate, before we dig into my questions, I need to celebrate a moment with you. And that is the launch of your new podcast, right?
Yes.
You just blew that up on the internet. Tell us a little bit about that, what we can expect from it. And of course, everyone can go and click on your post today. I've reposted it on my channel, Tiffany-O on LinkedIn. Of course, you can find me there. You'll see the post and you can see the clip. But tell us a little bit about the podcast and let's celebrate the launch.
Great. Well, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude to you for giving me the chance to join your podcast, share my experience, and you are providing me an opportunity to talk about my new podcast. Again, now I observed how you introduced the guest. I loved it. So I am learning from you because a podcast is something brand new thing for me. I have never done it before. And through the podcast name is Verso Talk with Aytakin. Verso means hidden or opposite invisible. For me, as a leader of non-profit organization called Femigrant Foundation that empowers diverse female immigrants, I aim through the podcast to bring visibility to the untold stories of immigrants. But besides that, the goal of Femigrants number one is to educate immigrant women anything related about money management. It could be investment, fundraising, startup that could help them to be financially free in America as immigrant leaders. And number two, to inspire them through success stories of immigrants that they join our podcast and talk about their achievements, their impact, their challenges that they overcome before they become successful leaders. So yeah,
Wow.
I am very excited. And thank you so much for all the work you do to support the podcast, to empower femigrants. I really appreciate the opportunity of getting to know you. And all I can say is more power to you because you are such a great person, such a supportive woman, empowering other not only women but also immigrant women. So I feel blessed to know you.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. Wow, what an honor. What an honor. You know, it brings great joy to my heart to meet women like you. And when I look at your online profile, immediately I thought, oh, wow, this is a woman in tech. She's been at all the companies. I bet in my mind, I was wondering, is she going to respond? So for
Oh,
those of you who are tuning in, I want to talk about, just for a moment, I want to hold space to women who send the elevator back down for others. Because
Mhm.
in this case, Aytakin, she's been at Meta, right? You were at LinkedIn, Facebook, like all the big names. She's been there and run programs and large scale projects for them and launches for them. And now she's in Silicon Valley and she's moving and shaking with investors and she's really doing the thing. And yet, a LinkedIn inbox she personally responded to, picked up the phone, and we had a great conversation the first time. So I just want to take a moment and acknowledge, number one, thank you for that and for how your humble leadership, servant leadership, but also the point for other women when we get there,
Mhm.
wherever there is for us, it's really important to look not just up and beside you, but look down, send the elevator back down for others who are reaching out to us. So thank you very much for that.
Of course. I want to say something about the LinkedIn. So I rarely ignore any messages on LinkedIn because I know that unless it's cold pitch with, I think we should pause here. My daughter is here in the background. So, yeah.
So we were just picking up on our conversation about sending the elevator back down. And I think you were going to say something, Aita Chen.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say about LinkedIn and cold outreach, I rarely ignore messages. Might be delayed with my responses depending how full is my inbox. Sometimes it gets like really, really quickly with unread, full with unread messages. Even sometimes when I see people offering me services, I tell them no, thank you. Because I know again it depends how they pitch it. If it's like copy pasted pitch, I know that oh they are not interested in my response, they are just copy pasting it. But if sometimes people take efforts to write in a customized way, even I am not interested, I let them know because I don't want them to be shadowed. And then they are like, oh, thank you for letting me know. So they stop bothering me at least. Just kidding that part. So I want them to know because I do lots of cold outreach myself, and I have been and I keep being in two different situations. I get lots of cold messages myself, and I do it myself. So I know how it feels in being two different sides. So, and when you came with this offer to connect with you, I couldn't disregard it because it comes from such a great lady.
Oh,
So,
thank you. Well, that's a lesson learned. I think there was, as we start to think about how we represent ourselves or present our messages,
yeah,
the lesson is, I think, being authentic is number
yes.
one. But the other thing is giving space to people's voice and acknowledging the effort that people put forward to reach out to you with
Hmm.
grace, as
Yeah.
you did. That's another lesson. I too am the same way. And sometimes, I will test some people that are reaching out, to
Uh-huh.
see how authentic they really are. Is it just
Yeah.
about their message or is it about a connection? For me, connections, it's one of my core values for my business and for me personally.
Yeah.
Connections count, people matter,
Yeah.
and people's feelings come first, right?
Uh,
Acknowledging that. So
yeah.
I look for that. I try to put that in my outreach to others, but I also look for that too when people are communicating. I saw when you were doing a call for presenters, one of your posts, you gave some really good advice to
That's what I
people.
wanted to say. Yes. So because I am doing events at Femigrant, I
Yes.
get lots of text and messages. I am a member of many WhatsApp community groups, and there I share that hey, there's a speaking opportunity, and then after a while, I get like this message. I saw your post. I want to be a speaker. There is no name mentioned. There is nothing mentioned. What, like, which event is it? Because I do many events. At least for the next like 2 months, I have two events, right? They don't tell, and I'm like, okay, is it he? Is it she? What is your name? So how I can address you, and what is your expertise? And one of them, what they did, hey, I want to be a speaker. This is my website. And when I go their website, it doesn't say anything about them. It talks about the company, right? But as you are a leader of the company, you either send me to the page where it tells about you, because I am inviting you, not entire company, to promote it. So I was like, okay, I need to write about it. I need to educate people so the next time they know it's not only how they approach to me, but if they do it to me, then they can do repetitive mistake to other, and it decreases their chances to be a speaker. So number one, introduce yourself properly, which means say your name. Hey, my name is Aytakin, and for example, I am the founder of Femigrant Foundation. I saw your post on WhatsApp group, and you can say the name of the group that you shared. You are doing an event to launch your podcast, and you were looking for speaker. You said that you are looking for investors. I am an investor, or I am a startup founder, and I raised 2 million or 3 million, or I haven't raised yet, but I am looking for opportunities to increase my visibility. Do you have any requirements? Can we talk about it? Now I have the minimum required information to know if I need to spend time and send your URL like link, because it's your WhatsApp number. I need to go you, and then I tell them, please send me your LinkedIn or let's connect so I can see their profile to do basic screen kind of review to see if that person is the right candidate for that specific event. So I can talk about it a lot,
I
but,
love it.
but
I
yeah.
appreciated it. And it reminded me when we first met. And when we first met, I told you this, hi, I'm Tiffany. We did our little thing. I was like, I have three letters that represent who I am. And I went through a thing, and in a few minutes you said, oh,
Yes,
I love your
yes,
you have a nice introduction. And
yes,
it's really important as we do that, no matter how sincere we may be in our outreach, there's a way that people need to receive us so they can do something with it. Help
right.
us, fund us, sponsor
Yeah.
us, promote us, give you feedback, whatever it is. But we need a level of professionalism and clarity that we're providing as a professional courtesy to our potential mentor,
Mhm.
sponsor, funder, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you very much for that. That was
Of
that was
course.
that was awesome. So we had a LinkedIn lesson from the LinkedIn guru here.
Not like that. Just wanted to share my experience. Again, I have been in both sides, so sharing my experience and recommendations, hoping that it will help someone to increase their chances to gain visibility, because I cannot onboard all the people who are reaching out for speaking opportunity. We have our own requirements
Yeah,
for every event. But with this special post, I aim to help these people who needs that visibility for their ideas, for their startups. And glad that you reminded me about those three keywords. Now I recall it, like when we got connected on a video call, you said those three keywords. I was like, oh my God, what a great way to introduce yourself. I have never thought about that, because I have had so many calls, but I have never thought about the way to use three keywords that could attach people. That's how we got connected. I love the keywords you mentioned, and I felt that we are related, and it clicked right away.
thank
So
you very
you should
much.
also write about that.
Okay. I think I will. When I actually post, when I post this, I think this is a snippet, right?
Uh-huh.
When I do that, and I'm gonna write about that. So yes, definitely. Okay, so since we're talking about sort of your background in tech and the transition you made to the nonprofit world as a nonprofit CEO, you've been through the startup phase a couple of times. You've done like both sides of the house. And if anybody goes to your profile, since we were talking about LinkedIn, they'll see all the places you work and all the great things you've done, right?
I
Facebook,
hope so.
yeah, Facebook with Oculus, Instagram. I mean, you've got a lot of tech background. What made you shift from being an employee leading tech
Mhm.
innovation to supporting immigrant founders?
I have to go back to a couple of years ago when I started my career as an immigrant woman in America, because
Mm,
that's very related to what I'm doing now. I graduated social media marketing here in America, in Tennessee, and then I moved to San Francisco from Tennessee to do my internship at a non-profit organization that was media organization,
Mm,
working with minorities, and that was my first access to learn about minority communities in America, to learn about their struggles. Sadly, that nonprofit, they closed. I believe they had some financial issues, etc. But that was the first time for me to open the doors to see the reality of what happens in America, being as an exchange student and then being as an immigrant or being as a minority,
mm,
trying to find the needs to meet. It opened my eyes about what is happening on the other side that I didn't see before as an exchange student. And after that internship, I had to experience all these challenges myself because I couldn't find a job relevant to my background. What I realize now, I graduated social media marketing, and when I graduated, I thought that, oh, I'm gonna work at Facebook at the time because my background is social media. I am so passionate about it.
mm.
That's why I came to America to study social media. I applied probably 10, 15, 20 times to Facebook, to many other companies, but I have never had a chance even to be interviewed. And
Wow.
then together with my husband, we were at a situation we had only $300 left in our pocket, despite of he also graduated marketing in London. So we both had Western education, but we couldn't find a job. And we didn't have a luxury to wait until all this 2 weeks process goes. They review their application, they either get back to you or they reject you or something like that. What we did, we went to the public library, we printed our resumes, and I encouraged my husband, let's go to the restaurants, apply for server jobs. This is what we can do in a short period of time to get yes. Because applying for corporations, it might take longer time than you anticipate.
Wow.
We walked probably around 2, 3 miles in San Francisco. Even now, when I go to that specific street in Italian neighborhood, I get tears in my eyes because
Mm,
that's how I started. And everybody was telling us, no, we went to In and Out at Pierre in San Francisco. They were like, go apply online. And then we went to so many other restaurants and places. They were like, no, we don't need any employee, any staff, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, when we were almost ready to give up, we got a call from one of the restaurants asking my husband to come back because they need a waiter.
mm,
And that's how we survived. My husband got a job as a waiter, so we were able to overcome the financial challenges, not in a great way, but at least could afford our rental fee and food, the basic needs.
mm-hmm.
And every time I got rejections, it affected to my self-confidence, to my self-esteem. I was at the point that I thought that I am not needed in America and started to compare myself
Mm,
with graduates of Ivy League schools, telling that if they have this all these smart kids, they grew up here, they're Americans, why do they need an immigrant who do not have American experience and speak with an
oh,
accent?
mm,
So these thoughts put me even down to continue applying only low paid jobs. So, as an immigrant woman who has been going through all these emotional and mental struggles to find myself, to fit in, to feel included, I later realized that I am not an only immigrant woman going through struggles. I am not an only immigrant woman who had really growing successful career back in my country. I worked at great companies like funded by USAID, oil company, etc. But here I was nobody, right? And I realized I am not an only immigrant woman who goes through these different stages of life as an immigrant woman. And when I was able to get my dream job at Instagram after many years, finally, I made it a mission to build a community to help other immigrant women
mm,
who goes through similar issues that I have been going through many years ago. That's how I started building a Femigrants community on top of
mm.
being very happy with my career at a tech company.
I am so moved by this. I think one thing that you and I share in common, which may sound strange to you, as a woman that was raised here in the United States, but a woman of color from an underrepresented community in the inner city, the same experience that you had as an immigrant is the one that I
Mhm.
had as a woman of color.
Yeah.
The similar tears for similar reasons.
Mhm.
And then of course later in my life I married someone who is first generation American. My husband, his mother came here. He was born in Nigeria, and his mother came here. His father came here first for education. And similar to your story, Aytakin, with two master's degrees in the United
Mhm.
States and one from an HBCU, he could not get a job beyond driving a taxi cab. And
Lovely.
and his mother, double masters as well, could not get a job in her field. She ended
Mhm.
up having to take a job that was several layers lower than what she was qualified to do. She had a very thick accent, and of course, the cultural nuances. They didn't understand how to navigate in the United States, and now they're raising children. It was very, very hard for them. So his father ended up going back to Nigeria and started a company that was doing extremely well in Nigeria, but could only drive a cab here. So your work is one that touches my heart and is very close to the life of the people that I live with. So thank you very much for your work in terms of building community. If my mother-in-law had that kind of community as she was going through acculturation and learning how to navigate here in the United States, I'm sure her experience would have been less painful as well if she had more of a community like the one that you built. So thanks for looking back and creating a community that you now call Femigrant. And it's well needed, and I'm sure there are a lot of women who share the tears that you do.
I wish I could do more. I
Well,
wish,
that's where the funders, right? If you're listening
yes.
to this call and you want to support the work that Ita Chin is doing, she runs a foundation, a nonprofit organization, and that's what Femigrant is all about. So you can support her events, you support our podcast, but of course, through your donations and anything that you can do to help raise awareness is a way to help that would help Ita Chen do more. We want you to do more, Ita Chen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so you mentioned that you went through an internship, you went through as an exchange student. That meant that you must have been in your 30s, 20s, or 30s when you came to the United States. You weren't born here and went through this. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the road to leadership
Mhm.
as an immigrant and in the corporate world in America. What was that experience like for you? And in terms of lessons learned, like
Mhm.
what lessons did you learn that could help companies that have a global workforce help
This is
them?
such a great question. I will tell you something like also I joined my dream companies later, but when I got my first job at a startup company, because it took me so much time to overcome my thoughts, negative thoughts about myself. It took me a while to speak up at the meetings when I joined the first startup company. And I was expected to give ideas, to propose something, but every time I had great ideas, I paused. I was questioning myself internally. Is it a
Mm.
good idea? Will it be accepted? Will people find my grammar mistakes when I speak? I questioned the ideas so much in my brain, and until I decided to speak up, somebody offered similar ideas and they were praised by manager. So joining the company still internally, or my mindset still was not ready to see myself as a leader because
Mm.
of rejections, and how it impacted my self-confidence. I am so grateful to have I'm very grateful that I had a chance to work at Instagram because it had a culture where I was able to overcome the situation of self-blaming and
Mm,
like negatively self-talking, and that is because of the manager, the
mm,
leader, and we still have great relationship with that manager. I observed his leadership, and I said, one day if I will be leader, I will be like him.
mm,
Now I will tell you why I liked him as a leader. Number one, we started as like 20 team members, then we grew up to 50.
mm,
And we had a big pod. Everybody's there in that pod, and Instagram has open space. Uh, Big pod of 50 team members. And when manager came to that pod of 50 team members, he approached everyone, every single staff, one by one, stopping by their desks, talking with them. Not like long chat, but hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Is there any challenges? Is there anything I can help you? It helped me so much.
mm,
Feels that my manager acknowledges me, and if I do mistake or if I do something or if I need something, I feel comfortable to talk about it. And the first time when I proposed the idea among 50 people at Instagram, I felt proud of myself because at Instagram I overcame that again negative self-talk about myself. When I proposed the idea, I saw that my manager welcomed the idea. He was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And then if he didn't accept the idea to apply that to the project or product, he gave the reasons why it cannot work,
mm,
or if we do it, why it can be a great idea to apply it. So he didn't only either accept it or reject it, but he clarified it, gave the
mm,
reasons for the entire 50 people to understand for future. Like if we propose the idea, we need to consider XYZ because that's how it might apply to the project or product. So number one, I liked him as a leader, and I applied to my own leadership skills and to the culture I built at Femigrant's community. He was always open for a feedback. Every time he asked me, is there anything you think we can do to develop the product? Do you know why it didn't work? So he helped me to voice what I was thinking about the stuff that didn't work. And I joined Instagram for 3 months. It was very temporary, but before after 1 month, I proposed him. I prepared a big presentation,
mm,
and I wrote everywhere why we should change, what we should change, what will work. I proposed him idea. He looked at it, and then he called a meeting with team leaders, and he said, Aytakin is brand new, but she came up with great suggestions to develop the project. Let's listen to her. I was like, oh my God. He gives me opportunity to propose my idea publicly, not only in written way. Every time he added something, I regained my confidence. And then I became even more confident to propose more and better ideas. So to me, as a leader, what I learned, number one, you need to create a culture where number one, teams feel comfortable to give you feedback, that you will not that they will not be punished if the feedback is negative.
mhm,
Number two, team knows that whenever they need you as a leader to talk, to speak, challenge, or great news, you are there to support them. With Femigrant's team, I don't only work about like projects. I always talk about their personal life, but
mm,
not deep. Anything that we both feel comfortable to talk. If
yes,
if their kids were sick or
yes.
if they went somewhere, they feel comfortable to talk to me, and I had the same comfort to talk about with my manager. He was a male, he's a male, but I felt comfortable. My kids were very young at that time. One was 2 years old, the other was 3 years old. And because they were going to daycare, they got sick very often. It was such a stressful time for me. Every time I had to take
Mm,
them to emergency rooms, then I had to drive 45 minutes. If something had been wrong, I had to pick up them, like drive 45 minutes, go back to the hospital. I had to pause my work at that times. And what my manager said, Aytekin, your kids, your family is high priority now.
mm,
Don't worry about the work. Prioritize your family. Make everything is good. Like make sure everything is good. then you can go back to work again with a clear mindset.
Mm,
Isn't it a great leadership when you know that you will not be punished because you have to take care of your kid?
yes. That is when we create this sort of say, what I heard you share on your journey was your leaders created safety,
Yes,
psychological safety. They made
yes,
you feel that you could, and they reinvigorated humanity in the workplace. As women, we are caregivers, we have children. Of course, fathers take care of children, but for the most part, women, we're holding down the home front, taking care of the children, taking care of the job. And if you are a leader and you have women on your team, they need to feel that they have permission to
yeah,
do wear all of the hats, and that you're still going to celebrate their wins and their successes, and that they're not going to be penalized for stepping out of the office for 2 hours to take care of their children and finishing up work later at home. We need to create these cultures where women get extra points because they're women and they're parents and they're,
yeah,
I mean,
uh,
really think
yeah.
about it.
And you know, I will tell you something. I had opposite experience too, and my boss was a woman, and she was a mom. So I had a situation where I told that during this weekend, I have to take care of my family because they are sick. And what she told me, she was like, "You are a full-time employee, you have to respond 24/7." That was my earlier experiences where I didn't have that much experience about workplace culture to protect my rights. But I was just crying internally, felt lost, didn't know what to do, didn't know my rights, didn't know what should I say
Mm.
when I was not only expected but required not to take break because I was a full-time employee. Maybe it was illegal, I didn't know, right?
But
Because it was my earlier in my careers, but if I had that experience later on, that would be a different type of a conversation. But I had to obey every toxic culture they created for me to go through. I had to bear with it because I had no experience. I didn't know what to do. How should I react? I thought that, okay, maybe this is in America, this is how it works. And I need that money. I have to bear with it.
mm. Well, finding your voice, I'm glad that you found your voice and that you found your sea legs. But this is the reason why Femigrants also works with other founders, right? Being a leader, you're not born, leaders are not born, they are built.
Yeah,
And one would think, and this is the other thing, by virtue of the fact that you are a woman, doesn't mean that you will make a great leader, right?
yes,
This is why we have executive coaching. My virtual partner
yeah,
brings our programming She Leads to corporations to help leaders who are unaware that they're creating a toxic culture until it's
yeah,
too late, right? So sometimes we only recognize toxicity is there
yeah,
when our vacancy rate gets very large, and if there is enough exit interviews, we have the data, but by then the damage is done, the body count for people,
yeah,
and we're not even going to talk about some of the employees that know about employee assistance program that have to go seek psychological help from a counselor because of a toxic
yeah,
female boss. We want to
yeah,
put an end to that, right? So we want to
yeah,
equip, when we talk about shortening the leadership journey for women, is not that we just want to help women get there fast.
mm-hmm,
We want to help them be prepared so that
yeah,
they create cohesive teams and create psychological safety, and not the experience you had. And the one that I'm thinking about is recent. Yours was years ago, but still to this
yeah,
day, I have experiences with individuals that are telling stories of female leaders that cause them psychological harm. And
yeah,
this is why executive leadership, executive coaching, companies need to think about it as a corporate offering,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
because there's some things HR just can't fix.
yeah,
They need some additional support. So thank you
yeah,
for sharing that. And I hope that Femigrant also has some modules where they're helping leaders and newer people that are immigrating to the United States and getting into the workplace to be able to figure out, like, how do they navigate the
yeah.
complexities.
We are launching program. Before that program, I want to say something. Like type of leadership is a choice. It's not that something we are born with it,
That's right.
right? We make a choice how we want to be seen. We make a choice how we want to be accepted. We make a choice how we want to present ourselves as a leader. It's us. We choose if we create toxic culture. We choose if we want people to feel safe when we are around as a leader. And we make a choice how we want them to feel about themselves and feel about us. And I hope that everything is changing so fast now. And now people talk about these things. Maybe I believe that 15 years ago, we didn't have so many opportunities to talk about it publicly. Now we can write about it publicly, talk about it through podcasts, etc. I hope that the people who had a mindset of a leader that people needs to be controlled, and in order to make the company be successful, they take a different approach. They take the leadership style that will help other team members or their own team members or their colleagues feel appreciated, feel seen, feel heard. So it will not only help them to be remembered as a great leader, but it will also help the company culture and help to make even greater impact and achievements through like with the team and in global aspect of the company.
I agree totally with you. Thank you for sharing that. Aytakin, as you think about your experience and your journey, what do you believe was missing that would have helped prepare you for leadership? Like we know what you did get, but what do you now look back and say, oh, if we had this, I would
Yeah.
have it would have been different for me from a leadership development perspective,
You just mentioned about it, coaching.
coaching.
I missed coaching or mentorship. The reason that I missed because I didn't have enough budget to afford coaches.
Ah,
Yes, it was very, very pricey for me. And why I didn't have mentors, because when I started my career, I didn't have anybody in my network in America to ask them for advice. I didn't know anybody here. But if I had the communities that we have at Femigrant, I could have maybe invite someone for a coffee the day after I meet them at Femigrant's event and tell them, hey, this is the situation I'm going through at the company. How is your situation? Have you ever like faced something similar, or do you know anybody who can help me? Just hearing different stories would help me to understand this is the wrong culture that I am bearing with, I am staying with. I have to do something about that.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Lack
Um,
of resources. Well, that's what I would say.
resources, which is why I believe it's important for companies and corporations to begin thinking about executive coaching not as a luxury, but as a
Yeah.
basic benefit to new leaders and new and
Uh-huh.
established leaders, that providing that not just from an HR perspective when things are wrong, but when they start giving them that external ear and having the company really sponsor that, there's I think that would, to your point, shorten the leadership trajectory for women coming in, right? Because there's so much we don't know depending on your frame of reference.
And especially if they have a team of diverse people, cultures are different.
Yes.
Some things that you can say in America, it could be offensive in a different country, or opposite way. So when you have a team of people who are coming from different ethnicities, cultures, you have to learn about their culture, and there has to be a program provided by the corporations to be mindful about the cultural differences.
It's interesting you say that. I find that it could be, and this is a shift where we have to be culturally curious. If you have the attitude that because a person is moving here, so they need to learn about us, then you've shut down the opportunity to build a bridge, right?
Mhm,
Cultural curiosity does need to go. The bridge needs to be open on both ends.
mhm.
You cross one way, I cross the other, and
Yeah,
then we can meet in the middle with understanding,
right.
right? I'm going on your side, you're coming my way, and then we
Uh-huh.
understand each other, and great relationships can be established. Norms on teams can be established. Something as simple I have a team in India. I
Uh-huh.
had a team in the Philippines, a team here in the United States. And each of those, and even thinking about a team in India, depending on where they come from, they think
Hmm.
differently. They
Yeah,
have
yes,
different styles of
yes.
communicating. But I've grown so much by being challenged by people
Uh-huh.
from different areas. Crossing the bridge can really open up our minds to innovative ways to do things and make us pause and think. The way we thought of being right doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily have to be right. We can
Yes.
you
Yes,
can be.
I want to add something. When I interview candidates at Femigrant, one of the questions I ask them, and it's a good opportunity for other candidates to prepare themselves for it, but in an authentic way, I tell them, we have team members coming from different cultures and backgrounds. How would you react if someone gives you a constructive feedback? This is number question number one. And the opposite side, what would you do if you see your team member gives constructive feedback to other person, but that feedback given in a negative way, it makes the person feels bad in front of team members. What would you do?
Mm,
So I want to hear about number one, if they're open to different cultures, if they're open to constructive feedback, and if they're willing to create a space for feedback to grow themselves. And number two, how do they, how do they, how are they ready to support the team member who feels bad out of the situation, and also like what actions they take to avoid something happens in a repetitive way. Do they speak with other person who gave feedback to tell them, hey, you made that person feel bad, this is not you're supposed to do when you give a feedback? Or they just like stay silent and they keep silence when somebody feels bad, and the other person maybe they don't know that because culturally for them it's good.
yeah, it sounds what I'm hearing you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that on the talent acquisition side, on the recruitment side, both leaders interviewing and those that are sourcing talent at the very, very core level need to build into their screening process cultural competency,
Hmm.
cultural curiosity, cultural sensitivity. And if we begin to do that, then we'll be attracting people to the organization that can fit into a culturally diverse environment. Is that what?
That is a great summary.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
explained it in a great way. I try to say it in an example, but you say it academically perfect.
That's ex- I love, thank you so much for shining a light on the shift and what we can do to make things better. Because if we're going to shorten the leadership runway, we need to be able to give concrete examples like the one you gave so that adjustments and shifts can be made.
Mhm.
As we start to wind down our time together, I wanted to just take a moment and have you reflect. Just reflect on your 25-year-old self. So think
Oh,
back, that would be before. What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
it's a great question. Too many things I could have advised, but maybe I will choose only top two. No, number one would be don't downgrade your abilities and capabilities because of the rejections. Rejections mean two things. Either they mean redirection or means it's not the right time or the right place for you.
Hmm, that's powerful.
And number two, ask for help. Don't try to do everything yourself. Well, I still do it. I am a doer. Sometimes I assign projects, but and then I just do it myself because I see that I can do it faster. It can save time. I am still trying to learn how I can ask for help. This is maybe if I practiced it when I was 25 years old, it would be the right time. Now I am 45. I have been living this way for my whole life. Do it. I am a doer. I will do everything I can. I cannot. I will put all my efforts. I will do my best. But it's helpful to ask for help because when you ask for help, there are always people. who are there to help you. You just need to talk about it. You just need to ask them. Where there will be rejections, obviously, people just can ignore or reject, but I am sure that there are always people who are there to support you and to help you in any ways they can.
Mm.
So two things.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you very much. Okay, so rapid fire, one word to outline or describe your view of leadership.
Speak less, listen more.
And rapid fire, who's your superhero
As a manager or in general?
in general? In this country, growing up as a child, we watched cartoons. We
Mhm.
watched TV a lot as children. And there were characters like Wonder Woman, Batman, Robin, Catwoman. So growing up, these people influence you, right? So some
Yeah.
people come on the show and they say, "My mom's my superhero, my motivate." So who motivates you or inspires you as the person that you lean to and look to as your rock or your hero?
It will not be one person. I have to mention all of them.
Okay.
So when I was in my early teenage times, I was back in my country, Azerbaijan. There was an Azerbaijani journalist. She was working for a famous news channel in America, Voice of America.
Yes.
My mom adored her. She was always calling me, "Hey, Aytakin, come and look how she speaks English. She's a journalist. Why don't you email her to learn something from her? Get in touch with her. You should go to America." So I adored that woman, the way she was speaking, and I adored her because how the way my mom liked her, and she showed me as a great example to build my skills, to learn some from someone. So that woman in my childhood, she was ideal person who is from Azerbaijan. She was running news media channel, famous news media channel in America. This was like someone as a personality to present
Yes.
yourself
Yes.
publicly. But as a personality, like internally how I feel, I learned how to be strong from my mom.
Mm,
We overcome too many hard things. We overcame collapse of post-Soviet Union, where we had no electricity,
mm,
food, we had to starve. We overcame the war and so many other challenging things. But I have never ever seen my mom giving up. There
mm,
were times because Soviet Union collapsed, we didn't have bread. We were
mm,
shortage of bread. But my mom made a situation that we don't feel hungry. She found a way to feed us. She never ever gave up. She is my hero as a person who never gave up. Sadly, she passed away,
mm,
but she's my ideal woman as a strong mom who always made her kids. We are those like four daughters in a family who was a great example for all her daughters to stay strong and not give up even the most challenging time.
mm.
But as a leader, I hope my husband will not be jealous because it will be a male person. Just for fun. But I adore the CEO of Nvidia, Jensen. I had a chance to work there and I had a chance to experience his leadership skills. Every day when there is a news about him, when he gives interview, I watch all his interviews because why I like him as a leader, I feel somehow related in our stories. He comes from immigrant background, right? He's an immigrant and he also started from low level. He worked at a fast food place cleaning the tables, right? Serving food. And he is such an humble and authentic person. He never hides his stories or never feels shy or embarrassed to tell the things about his mistakes he made before. So that is the person I adore as a leader, and that is how I would like to be a leader. And he built amazing culture at NVIDIA that I had a chance to experience before.
Wow. I can't wait to check him out. Now you've got me
Yes.
curious. Thank you very much. Last question. What book are you reading or would you recommend emerging and established leaders take a look at or put on their bookshelves?
My top number one author, Jeffrey Peffer,
Hmm.
and his book called Power. why some people have it and others don't.
Mm.
Sometimes when I need some advice about leadership, I go back to take a couple of, I read this book a couple of times, and
Wow.
sometimes when I take a walk, I listen as a podcast. He gives tips on how to be a great leader, and he also shares true stories about leaders who failed and true stories about leaders who achieved,
Mm.
and then analyzes why they failed and why they achieved. So, highly recommended book. I encourage everybody who wants to build leadership skills, definitely read this book.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you very, very much. I appreciate the rapid fire. And lastly, as we wrap up our call, I love your mission to empower immigrant women. Can you talk about your vision for Femigrant and how you see it evolving for the future as we close
Mhm.
out?
I dream for Femigrants to be a global platform where any immigrant from any part of the world they need help, they know that there is a resource for them to go in, to check, to ask for help, and to give help. That is my big vision. It's not only provide services in Silicon Valley, but go globally, so everybody knows that there is a community. No matter where I move, where I migrate, I can tap in and get help and give help. That is my big vision for the Femigrants. And if you don't mind using this great opportunity that you create, I would love to inform people about our annual forums that you will be emceeing.
Yes, I'm excited about that. Please do.
So yes, on February 28th, we have Femigrants Annual Forum bringing together 300 immigrant guests in one room. And we have incredible speakers, the founder of a startup who is an immigrant, and he built a company worth $1 billion. We have amazing speakers from Fortune 500 tech companies, AMD, Salesforce, NVIDIA, YouTube, you name it. And there will be investors and startup founders who built $1 million, who raised at least $5 million. And of course, we have amazing MC. Her name is Tiffany, and I couldn't be happier to have you as an MC leading the forum.
Thank you very much. Oh my goodness. I am super excited about the forum. Again, that's February 28th in Silicon Valley. It's going to be at Microsoft's headquarters in Mountain
Yes,
View, Palo
yes,
Alto, correct?
Mountain View.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Thank you for the honor to be there. As we wrap up today's enlightening conversation, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to you, Aytakin, for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us. Your journey, your dedication to empowering immigrant women, they're both truly inspiring. As I shift to the closeout, virtual partner, we're committed to transforming workplaces into hubs of innovation and inclusivity. We're on a mission to gather insights and stories from women leaders worldwide to better understand the challenges and triumphs they face. Your voice matters, and we'd love to hear from you. So before we go, if you're inspired by what you've heard here today and you want to join us on our mission to empower women leaders, don't forget to participate in the She Rises Global Survey at virtualpartner.biz/how she rises. Participating in the survey will help shape the future discussions that we have here on this podcast and initiatives and corporations in the United States and around the globe aimed at supporting women in their leadership roles. Together, we can create a future where equity prevails and every woman has the opportunity to rise. Thank you for tuning in to She Rises. Stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep rising. Until the next time. That's a wrap for today's episode of She Rises. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and the motivation to keep pushing forward on your leadership journey. Remember, success isn't about reaching the top. It's about lifting others as you rise. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other powerhouse women in your life. Follow me, Tiffany-O, and Virtual Partner for more resources on leadership, organizational growth, and creating workplaces where humanity thrives. Until next time, keep rising, keep leading, and keep making an impact.